Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you're watching from. Welcome back here to the launch pad. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the pad, and we're just getting ready for our live coverage of the Perseverance Mars rover landing. After months of travel from Earth to Mars, it is into the final 2 hours before Perseverance makes its entry, descent, and landing to the lunar surface. This generally is called the 7 minutes of terror, as this is when the rover is in full control by itself due to the delay of time for the information to get from Mars to Earth and Earth to back to Mars. It is all in control by itself, and it will be actually on the ground before we know it has actually started its descent. So it's a big waiting game. Lots of people's fingers are crossed because there is no abort, there is no scrubs today. We are going straight into it, and there will be a landing. The question is it successful? NASA's had a pretty good success so far with their other rovers using different technologies. They've proven this way of landing with a sky crane with their last Mars rover, and there is just a lot of people around the world excited for today. Before we really get into it, if you are new here with the Launchpad, welcome. Again, my name's Zach. I'm the host here. Here at the Launchpad, we cover everything space, space flight, space engineering in the future of space, and we're just so thrilled that you are here with us. If you have questions today, let us know in the chat. Send them in with the hashtag AskTLP. You can do that on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and we'll be monitoring those and trying to get answers for you. As well, help share the broadcast out. Right now, we are sitting at about an hour and 55 minutes away from suspected touchdown. NASA's going to be going live in about 10 minutes with their live coverage, bringing us the live feeds from mission control, some updates and some more information. So we're going to tune into that once they go live. Again, if you have any questions, let us know. But before we kind of dive deep into what's going on, I figured we'd just talk a little bit about what the Perseverance rover is for it. Let's see what people are saying. Hello, Sandeep. Top Coast, Tina, Spacetime, welcome. I love Cheez-Its. They're good. They are good. We're going to get this pulled up here. So yeah, Perseverance is the largest Mars rover that anyone has sent to the red planet. If you saw the launch of it, they had a mock-up behind them, and I'm assuming we'll probably see that once NASA goes live. It is a large vehicle. It is currently 2 meters in length. It is 2.7 meters in diameter, 2.2 meters tall, and it weighs over 1,000 kilograms. It was launched on July 30th from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and its planned landing is today. Now, one of the big things from today is where it's going to be landing. It's going to be landing at Jezero Crater. This is a location that previously was determined that it would not be a safe landing facility for any sort of vehicle. And with the advancements of technology, with computer graphing and artificial intelligence and stuff, they've been able to come up with a way that when this rover descends, it's going to activate a bunch of HD cameras. With those HD cameras, it's going to be able to scan the ground and control its descent. It does have a little bit of an engine as well, so if it needs to fly a few hundred meters, it can do so to find a place that it can safely land. This is one of the most difficult landings NASA has ever attempted on Mars or anywhere with a rover, but they have done years of planning for this with the Perseverance rover. Let's see. Hello from India. Belgium, hello, welcome everyone. Couple of the scientific objectives of the Perseverance rover. One is looking for the habitability. Can we live on Mars? It's looking to see if there are any evidence of previous forms of life. And now we're not talking about looking for bones or fossils when they're talking about this. They're looking for some sort of cells or something in the ground that proved that there was water previously and things like that. One thing that's really exciting about the Perseverance rover is that it's the first time that a rover is going to be actually collecting samples, putting them in tubes, and then leaving them on the surface with a ping. The reason for this is in a couple years, NASA will send another rover as well as a satellite to Mars. And with this system, they'll actually be able to track where these are. And then when humans go, they'll actually be able to recover these samples and send them home if they aren't doing that earlier with a rover. So they are starting that process of returning the first Martian samples back to Earth. for it. The other part of looking for that, if we can live on Mars, is looking for biosignatures. Is there anything of past microbial life? This would just show that there was a chance that life existed there. And then preparing for humans. There is actually a oxygen production system on the Mars rover that will suck in the air of Mars and reconstitute it and translate it into oxygen. And this is going to be doing the first testing of if we can actually live on Mars. Could we bring systems that take the Martian air and turn it into breathable air for humans for the habitats? So a lot of big things that they're going to be trying with this mission. This is the most intricate, most advanced, the largest, most expensive rover that they have sent to Mars. And the big thing with landing on Mars is, again, there is no abort, there is no scrubs. It is something that they're, sitting and waiting and basically seeing what happens. There's a lot of technology in play, and it knows what it's doing in landing, and they've done testing. Sounds a bit complicated. Why not collect them in person? There will, absolutely. There's probably going to be more samples than they do collect. The question is, when will we get humans on Mars? That's the big one right now. They would like to have samples, this decade. Will we have humans on Mars this decade? It's a possibility, but we'll wait and see. It's not going to happen until 2030, so wouldn't it be easier just to collect the samples in person? Possibly. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they'll probably dive into it a bit more. I know during some of their pre-press conferences, they're actually showing like the tubes and stuff. So hopefully they'll show us that once NASA goes live here in about 5 minutes. But it is absolutely something that they're doing. Perseverance has 7 scientific instruments and a total of 19 cameras and 2 microphones. Another big thing about the Perseverance rover is what is actually included with it. And I'm going to pull this up here so you can have a look at the rover. And it is right here. So this is the Perseverance rover. And that little thing below it you see is the Ingenuity helicopter. Now, this is going to be the first attempt to fly any sort of flight vehicle on another planet. For it, Ingenuity is actually tucked up underneath the rover, and once the rover is safe and landed and has done its final checks, the rover will lower the helicopter to the lunar surface and then back up over it. Now, it'll be able to redock as well, and they're going to be doing it. Thank you for Louisiana. First river, though. Yeah. JPL Mission Control is live. Ooh, that's good to know. Thank you so much for telling us that. I'm going to take a look here. Ooh, they are as well. Let's see what they're showing. Got about 5 minutes until they go live, but we're going to pull this up actually right here and kind of listen in, see if we can hear anything. We were hearing that they were getting good signal earlier today from the rover, as they have the entire mission. And we're going to pull this up here. So this is a live view inside the Jet Propulsion Laboratory at the California Institute of Technology.
Watcher have data and can confirm whether or not that should be showing anything yet?
Telecom. Go telecom.
Okay, we'll circle back to that. Thanks, Lynn. River Willis, voice check.
Copy. Radio 555, how do you read me?
4x5, telemetry status.
I'm good to go.
So it sounds like they're just doing some final mic checks, getting ready to go live as the big coverage starts in about 4 minutes, both on JPL's page, NASA's page, and we're going to carry it here for you as well. But these are live feeds as they navigate working through a pandemic. They launched this rover during the pandemic, and now it's going to land. And they have been working on this for years. And a lot of people have asked, well, why don't they hit pause? Why didn't they delay the launch of the rover until, people could go see the launch or things like that? And the biggest reason of that is that with Mars, we get an encounter about every 2 years, which is when we can launch something, and it's the fastest time to get there. It's about every 26 months. And 2020 just happened to be that next opportunity, and they had been preparing for years for it, and they were going to go for it. It does look really, it's a nice control room. it's very clean, very modern. If you've ever seen Rocket Lab's mission control, it looks really sleek. If you had painted that one wall black, it'd be pretty similar, just blue lights instead of red. But as you can see, lots of people busy away doing final checks, making sure they've got all their telemetry that they need, as they will be able to be sending commands to the rover up until really the final minutes before it makes its descent for the entry to Mars. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the launch pad, and thank you for joining us for the live coverage of the Mars Perseverance rover landing. It will be about an hour and 45 minutes away from landing. NASA's and JPL are going to be going live here in just a couple of minutes with their full coverage, kind of taking us through everything. I'm not sure if they're going to show us any camera photos just because of the time delay. So we might see those following the landing from it, or we might see those at a later date once they have reviewed and released them. Again, there are 19 cameras and 2 microphones on this, so this is going to be the most visible landing that we have, and they've got cameras facing really in every direction. They've got them facing down at the lunar surface, but they've also got them facing up towards the sky crane. They've got cameras on the sky crane, which will lower the rover to the surface, and many more looking at other things, as well as the permanent cameras for when they're on the surface doing their research. There is their simulation on where they're looking at. You can see on there the other landing site and the Mars Reconnaissance orbiter, which is a satellite currently in orbit that was sent in preparation for the Perseverance mission and other missions. It's looking for places to land and different things like that. So currently what you're seeing right now is the Perseverance rover is inside the Sky Crane capsule, which is attached to their body, and they will doing, and NASA's live. Great. Yeah, we're pulling that up right here right away. And we'll see probably in about the next hour. They will separate from that transfer body, which is the one with all the solar panels and extras, and they will go into what they'll use for descent, which is the reentry module and then the Sky Crane, and go from there. NASA, I'm sure, will take us through it in quite depth. There's a lot of stages to landing, and we're going to just pull JPL down here once we see NASA actually go live. They are pending their view, and we will get that here right away. Again, if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. Use the hashtag AskTPL. We'd love to get those answers for you. And it looks like NASA is going live here, so I'm going to quickly pull this up. We want NASA Perseverance. And there we go.
Welcome to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California. We are gearing up for NASA's Perseverance rover to touch down on Mars. Happening in an hour and a half from now, the rover will attempt to land in Jezero Crater. It is the most difficult landing site on Mars ever attempted. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Raquel Villanueva. In the past, mission team members gathered in our mission control for landings. But this time around, we have COVID safety measures in place. Today's landing will look a little different than what you've seen before. I am in a room by myself, and so is my co-host. Here in the Spaceflight Operations Facility, team members are in different parts of this building. Some are in mission control, others are upstairs for landing operations. We also have isolated rooms for our guests on this show. In total, we have 8 locations covered by 14 robotic cameras that you will be seeing. One of those locations is the dark room, the heart of NASA's deep space network. Think of it as a giant communication switchboard. This is where spacecraft phone home to us from across the solar system and interstellar space. The Deep Space Network has been tracking Perseverance since it left Earth, and there are lots of ways you can watch landing today. We have a 360-degree camera inside the control room. It lets you experience the landing right along with the team while seeing this broadcast. We also have the Clean Feed. It shows an uninterrupted view of mission control and audio. También tenemos un programa en español. To tell us about it is host Diana Trujillo, who also works on the mission.
Thank you, Raquel. We're so excited to be the sister live broadcast in Spanish. Sintonízate nuestro programa en las redes sociales de Twitter, YouTube y Facebook en la NASA en español para que nos acompañes a un tour virtual de la NASA con entrevistas con astronautas, con participación de artistas, con entrevistas con científicos e ingenieros de Perseverance, con Plaza Sésamo y mucho más. ¡Te esperamos!
Gracias, Diana. And don't forget, we want to see how you are watching the landing today. Use the hashtag Countdown to Mars to send us your photos and videos. To preview what interviews are coming up is my co-host from the JPL News office, Marina Jurica.
Thanks so much, Raquel. The excitement is building behind me right here in Mission Control as we count down to the Perseverance landing. We will be talking to some of the many people who made today possible, from scientists to engineers on the Mars 2020 Perseverance rover team to folks from NASA headquarters giving us a look into the future of Mars exploration. A little later, we will also be speaking with the students who named the rover and the helicopter. Inspirational stories as we prepare for another landing on the red planet. Back to you, Raquel.
Thanks, Marina. Let's give a shout out to the students around the nation learning about Perseverance's mission to Mars with their teachers. We're happy you're with us on this exciting day. Later in the show, we will be answering some of the questions you submitted through your classrooms. Landing on Mars is complex. The team will be calling out milestones as they happen. It's fast-paced, and you'll hear lots of technical terms. To help us translate and explain what is going on in Mission Control is Swati Mohan. She is part of Perseverance's landing team. Thanks for guiding us through landing today, Swati.
Hi, Raquel. I'm happy to be here today.
So, Swati, what is the status of the Perseverance rover right now?
So Perseverance is still in space right now, about 9,000 miles from Mars. So far, she is healthy and on course.
And it takes time to send signals between Earth and Mars. Can you let us know how that affects the information you are seeing?
So Mars is about 127 million miles from Earth right now. That means it takes about 11 minutes from light to travel from Mars to Earth. So all the information that we receive from Perseverance actually happened 11 minutes ago. So the round trip is 22 minutes for us to send a command to Perseverance and hear back on the ground that she's received that command. This is what we call two-way light time.
That's good to know. And can you tell us who else is in the room with you right now?
The operations team is split into two different areas. Here in the cruise mission support area, we have primarily the team that has been flying Perseverance from Earth to Mars. You'll see the placards with the roles of each of the people by their stations. Some of the people you may hear talking today are the flight director, who is the conductor of our operations orchestra here, the entry, descent, and landing activity lead, who is a member of the landing team tasked with understanding the execution of entry, descent, and landing, and then also the telecommunications and entry, descent, and landing communications engineers who will be monitoring the signal from Perseverance through the different paths that we have. Upstairs, in what we call the war room, we have almost the entire entry, descent, and landing operations team. And then across the hall from them, we have the surface mission control room, where the surface operations team is ready and waiting to take over as soon as Perseverance's wheels touch the ground.
And you have been part of this mission for years now. can you tell us what have you been working on?
I've been working on Perseverance for almost 8 years now as a guidance, navigation, and control engineer, working primarily on entry, descent, and landing. One of my big tasks was to help with terrain relative navigation. Perseverance will be the first mission to fly terrain relative navigation. So while she's descending on the parachute, she'll actually be looking at the ground with a camera, seeing where she is with respect to the Martian surface, and choosing a safe spot to land that she can get to. After so many years of working on the mission, it's an honor to be here today as the mission commentator.
We're happy to have you here. Thanks, Swati. We'll be checking back in with you in just a few minutes as Perseverance approaches its next milestone. But for now, let's learn more about the rover's mission once it lands on Mars.
You know, Mars is the closest place that we can reach with robotic exploration that we think had a really good chance of having ancient life.
The Perseverance rover will land at a location called Jezero Crater. Jezero Crater is a very interesting place. It's a crater that once held a lake.
There are a lot of craters on the surface of Mars that could have once hosted ancient lakes, but not every crater that we think had a lake actually preserves evidence that that lake was there.
It had an inflow channel and it had an outflow channel. That means it was filled. The crater was filled with water.
In Jezero, we have probably one of the most beautifully preserved delta deposits on Mars in that crater.
This is a wonderful place to live for microorganisms, and it is also a wonderful place for those microorganisms to be preserved so that we can find them now so many billions of years later.
There is no other place on Mars that has the unique combination of a lake setting, a beautifully preserved delta, and the diverse mineralogy that we have in Jezero Crater. So it's truly a special landing site.
The major goal of the Perseverance mission is to investigate astrobiology on Mars, and in particular, to address the question of whether life ever existed on Mars. The Perseverance rover starts with a design that's very similar to Curiosity. We've added to it a whole new set of science instruments, and these science instruments were purposefully selected to help us in the search for biosignatures.
We're going to be taking microphones with us. For the first time, we're going to have that human sense on another planet.
Perseverance carries with her a grand experiment in spacefaring technology, a helicopter, the name of which is now Ingenuity.
One of the major upgrades that Perseverance has from Curiosity is that it's able to self-drive for a distance of up to 200 meters per day. As the rover is driving, it's literally building the map of the road it's driving on Mars.
Scientists for years have told us that to really unlock the secrets of Mars, we have to bring samples from Mars back to Earth.
So what Mars 2020 is going to do is to drill samples, put them in small tubes. We're going to seal it in its own individual tube. We set them on the surface to provide a target for the second two missions, which hopefully will get in development in the next several years and could potentially get the samples back to Earth by 2031.
Perseverance is a very, very profound first step in both our understanding of our place in the universe and a stepping stone towards human exploration on Mars.
You are watching live Mars landing commentary, and Perseverance is about to reach another important milestone. Swati, can you tell us what is happening?
We are at a milestone where the operations team determines whether they're ready to turn off the transmitter to Perseverance. Turning off the transmitter is like taking your hands off of the wheel. At this point forward, Perseverance would be on her own to execute entry, descent, and landing over 500,000 lines of code. Let's listen in.
And it looks like the moment they said to listen in, they dropped some of their feed here.
Go. Art lead. Go. Team chief. Go. Ace. Go. Launch cruise phase lead. Go. Deputy Mission. Go. Propulsion. EDO Phase Lead. Go. Mission Assurance. Arc Lead. Mission Assurance is go. Team Chief. Engineer. Go. Ace. Go. Launch Crew Chief. Go. Go. Project Manager. Deputy Mission. Go. Go. Mission Manager. All stations are go for transmitter off. Mission Assurance. Assurance go for transmitter off. Chief Engineer. Flight, go for transmitter off. Flight, go ahead. Please perform the transmitter off at 1935 UTC. Ace Tower 1, Cat 1, back on net. All stations note that this action will force the SDST into one-way coherent mode. Loss of telemetry for less than 90 seconds is expected.
Oh, this is TAD 3, permission to stop sharing?
TAD 3, you're going to have to speak up, sorry.
Oh, well, this is TAD 3, permission to stop sharing?
Oh, yes, sorry. So, yes, you can stop sharing. Thank you for putting that up.
OL 1, this is TAD 1.
Go.
I have OD 133 EVU comparison. The distance off is down to 157.2 meters.
What was our previous number?
Previous number was 196.9 meters.
Copy, thank you.
So what we were listening into there was them going through their go, no go to start severing the communication control of JPL to the rover and all of its components to get ready for entry. Right now we're sitting about 90 minutes away from expected touchdown on the lunar surface, which means they are only just over 60 minutes away from being able to send the final commands to the rover to be able to get confirmation that the rover received them. We've got JPL and them pulled up, so we're going to keep listening in to them right now. NASA's playing a couple stories with some of the students sending in some questions about the rover. But yeah, they're getting ready for it. Yeah, NASA coverage slow. There are hundreds of thousands of people right now tuning in, and I think that's definitely part of it. A lot of social media is covering it, and go from there. We had a couple questions come in the chat. If you have any questions, let us know. With the
OL1.
Where is it?
Go OL1.
Can I give you the con for 10 minutes?
Copy that. Taking over for OL1.
Thank you.
So I'll just pull a mute on there. I'll still be able to hear them here. I had a couple questions come in from it. Do we have pictures of test flights of the for the Sky Crane? How was this developed and tested? So there was a lot of testing and development of the Sky Crane and the rovers. The Sky Crane has been used once previously with the Curiosity rover, I believe it was, a couple years ago. So it is something they know how to operate. A lot of the testing was done they had their facilities with, I know the rover itself went through a lot of shakes and rolling testing to make sure that once it was fully built, how will it survive up through that entry, descent, and landing? And, you know, does it have a harder hit, a softer hit, things like that. So a lot of testing, years and years of it. If you head over to JPL's website or even their social media, I know over the years they've posted quite a bit of photos and videos of it. Some of it isn't public because they're still developing ways of doing it. And there's a lot of testing. I mean, you're talking years of it. From there, we're going to pull up the NASA feed here and just see what they're talking about at this moment.
Perseverance. Let's listen in.
EDL complex. Have you performed the comp check and readiness of the orbiters?
We have performed the hoist check and the readiness goals. And you confirm that MRO, Dave Engine, EDA, Radio 9.2, UHF-E, CFN, and EDL together are all ready to perform.
EDL complex. Copy EDL complex.
Okay.
Have you performed the comm check and readiness of the orbiters?
OL1, we have performed the voice check and the readiness poll and can confirm that MRO, MAVEN, EDA, Radio Science 1 and 2, UHF DTE, CSN, and EDL GDS are all ready to support.
Copy, EDL comm.
So we've just heard that we have confirmation from each of the different orbiters and all of their support equipment on the ground that they are ready and are on track to support the relay from Perseverance.
Great, thank you, Swati. And we just heard that communications readiness poll, which means we are ready to relay the data Perseverance will send to get a better idea of what the rover looks like as it approaches Mars. We have a NASA program called EYES. The visualization lets anyone watching track Perseverance. Here's how the program works.
Follow Perseverance on its journey to the surface of the red planet with eyes on the solar system. From your desktop or mobile device, go to eyes.nasa.gov. Click on the banner, and now you're with Perseverance in real time through every step of EDL, entry, descent, and landing. This interactive experience lets you ride along from whatever perspective you choose. Click and drag, scroll in, scroll out. Check out the descriptions and explanations to increase your EDL expertise. Experience every entry, descent, and landing event precisely designed and executed to land Perseverance safely on Mars. The EYES experience is based on predictive data, but during this broadcast, you'll see a different visualization called Ranger, and it's based on the real communication the team in Mission Control receives from Perseverance in near real time. This is the visualization the team will follow as data fills their screens while monitoring the health of Perseverance on its nerve-wracking course to another successful Mars landing. Enjoy the ride.
So a lot of information, as you can see. I think that one of the questions we had earlier, kind of before the feed started, was the communication for it. And you can see it on screen there again, just the time delay for it. So when the rover is starting to make its entry, 11 minutes prior to that, JPL can send a command to it, but they won't be able to get confirmation because of the delay for it. So after that, about 11 and a half, 12-minute mark, we will hear them recognize when they are no longer in full control or able to send commands. That's a big moment in entry, descent, and landing, and it will be something coming up. It's still in about an hour from now, but once they get to that, things start happening quite quickly for it. If you have questions, again, let us know in the chat. Use the hashtag #AskTLP. Love to try to answer those for you. For the one that was asking about the testing of Sky Crane and Rover for it, they started doing testing in about the mid-2010s for it. Some of the different testing involved actual like drop testing, the shake, rattle, and roll testing. For it, I'm seeing that they tested the chute in June 2017. From it, they tested it at the NASA Ames Research Center in California, Silicon Valley. Actually, really amazing place. If you're in California, had the chance of going to Ames in the about 2010, I believe it was, and they were already working on Curiosity at the time, which was the last Mars rover. So a lot of testing going on, and they're already working on those next, one or two rovers and seeing what the plan is next for them. A lot of evaluation started with a little evaluation and then got deeper and deeper and more complex testing to make sure it covers everything through all stages of the landing for it. So really good question there. And we're going to pull up the audio and see what they're talking about.
This is your first Mars mission. What have you learned from this experience?
Yeah, one of my takeaways is that you can almost never be too careful when it comes to Mars. You definitely can't take Mars for granted. We've checked and double checked and triple checked everything on our way to Mars. And, even though we've done this once before using the Sky Crane technique on the Curiosity rover, I think everyone's going to have everyone's going to hold their breath until we're on the surface of Mars this time around.
And we have a social media question coming in. Nor the Door on Instagram asks, how complicated is the automated landing sequence and who wrote the code?
Yeah, it's quite complicated. The automated landing software needs to do literally hundreds of things all on its own, just right, with sub-second timing accuracy. And it's the result of many hundreds of people over many years, stretching all the way back to Curiosity, and then improved for the Perseverance landing today at Jezero Crater.
Great. Thanks for your time today, Matt, and good luck.
Thanks.
Now, landing on Mars is hard. Landing on Mars during a pandemic is even harder. The team behind the Perseverance rover faced one of its biggest challenges when the coronavirus pandemic struck. Here's how they kept the mission going.
So while they take a deep dive in, we'll leave the feed up here so you can see what's going on. A little bit of the kind of timeline of previous rovers, starting in the early 2000s when things really started to pick up. The first two kind of para rovers were MER-A and MER-B. They were called Spirit and Opportunity. They landed in June 2003 and July 2003. They're both successful, and they operated a lot longer than originally planned. Almost all the rovers have operated longer than planned. Perseverance itself, mission is scheduled to last at least one Mars year, which is over 600 Earth days. I believe it's 686 Earth days for it. So almost 2 years for a mission. And then if we're looking back at them, the Spirit one was supposed to last about a year. It landed on the 4th of January 2004, and it operated for 2,208 souls. The Opportunity rover landed on the 25th of January, and it operated for 5,351. They lasted years longer than originally planned, and was devastating when they finally were retired and lost communication. But I mean, they had years more data than they were expecting. Later on, NASA launched the Mars Reconnaissance orbiter in 2005, and we actually saw that on a graphic earlier. It is still in orbit, and it's still operational. It entered orbit in 2006, and then the U.S. sent the Phoenix lander in 2007. It had a mission from the 25th of May 2008 to the 2nd of November 2008, so a short mission there. They did a flyby mission in 2007 as well. And then they started going into these kind of next era of rovers with the Mars Curiosity rover. It launched November 2011, so a decade ago, and landed on the 6th of August 2012, and is currently still operational for it. There's been some other missions from other agencies, including Europe, Russia. We just saw the UAE send their first Mars mission, as well as I believe it was China earlier this year as well for it. So there's been a lot. NASA also in 2018 sent their InSight rover, which had a lander and 2 flybys. All were successful. The lander is still operational, and the flybys were completed, and both were lost of contact because they've completed their mission for it. And then we're on to Perseverance and the Ingenuity helicopter, which is the big thing. So the rover and the helicopter, and they're going to be deployed shortly. They're going to hopefully be on the surface here within the next about 90 minutes and be able to officially start their mission on the surface. As many of the people at NASA have said in this broadcast and others, getting to Mars is hard, but it's only part of the mission. It's the journey there. The real mission is once it's on the surface. So it's almost 2 complete tasks.
Now is Perseverance Deputy Project Manager Matt Wallace. Matt, just how ambitious is this mission, and how does this team stay on track with unexpected challenges like the pandemic?
Well, it's a very ambitious mission. We're working not only a host of new, extremely capable science instruments to do that science mission that we've talked about, but also a number of technology experiments to provide feed-forward information into the next set of robotic explorers or even human exploration of Mars. So there's a lot for us to do. We look a lot like Curiosity, but in fact we're carrying 50% more payload down to the surface of Mars, and so it is it's been a big challenge. You know, and it was particularly challenging when the pandemic struck. It came at a critical time in our processing. We were just months away from launching. We're trying to essentially get the spacecraft assembled, do the final tests. Did not have a lot of margin in our schedule, and our focus just entirely shifted from that to keeping the team safe and keeping their families safe. And we had to do that quickly, to make the adjustment quickly. I think, you know, we got through it with a lot of help. A lot of people stepped up to make it happen. The team was tenacious, and we managed to get it launched and fly it to Mars. You know, thanks to a lot of help.
And Matt, just how large is the team that worked on Perseverance?
It's a big team. A couple thousand people here just at JPL, in fact, have worked on the mission. And then almost every other NASA center has contributed in some significant and critical way as well. We have over 1,000 industry partners that have provided hardware into this mission from 44 different states, 60 different cities, and of course we have international contributions from Europe and many other international providers as well. So it's a big team. It's taken a lot of people to get us to where we're at.
That is a big team. This is the most difficult landing site ever attempted. Now, why do you think Perseverance is ready to land in Jezero Crater now?
Jezero is tough. I mean, it's scientifically fascinating because it's got a lot of things like craters and, you know, rock fields and cliffs and sand dunes and that sort of thing, which are great for the science community. That's exactly the type of features they're looking for to learn more about Mars. But they're all landing hazards for us. And so we've had to add new technology to relevant navigation, which is the ability essentially to divert away from hazards. But we have taken this system through the same types of paces that we have in previous missions. We've used the same techniques, the same best practices for engineering verification, and in many cases, we've used the same people. This, in fact, is my fifth Mars rover mission, and I'm not alone. There's other people on the project in the same situation. So, you know, the team has given it everything they've gotten to put it all out there and to make this successful, and I think we're ready.
Thanks, Matt, and good luck on your fifth mission.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jezero Crater is a location on Mars that has intrigued scientists for years. Let's head over to Marina to learn more about the science goals of the mission.
That's right, Raquel. Here to explain why we want to go there is Deputy Project Scientist Katie Stack Morgan. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks, Marina. Glad to be here.
Now, Perseverance is landing on Mars at the Jezero Crater. Why is it that you and the team chose this particular area?
Yeah, so scientists believe Jezero Crater is one of the best places on Mars and possibly the entire solar system to look for signs of ancient life. Jezero contained an ancient lake and has within it one of the best preserved ancient delta deposits on the surface of Mars. And deltas form when a river enters a relatively open body of water, like an impact crater, and deposits the sediment that it's carrying into the lake. And we know based on studies of deltas and lakes here on Earth that they're great places to concentrate and preserve organics and support microbial life. We're also excited because Jezero exposes rocks that are between 3.5 to more than 4 billion years old and represent a variety of different geological processes.
Now, this might be a tough choice, but what do you think would be the most rewarding scientific discovery that we expect to get from this mission?
Yes, hands down, I think the most rewarding discovery I think we can make with Perseverance would be finding a truly compelling ancient biosignature on Mars. The rocks in and around Jezero Crater record a period of time when life first arose in the solar system, and we have the opportunity with Perseverance to study the evolution of the planet from a once habitable world likely capable of supporting ancient life to the cold, barren planet we know Mars is today.
And why do you think, Katie, it's so important to find out if there really is or was ancient life on Mars?
Well, the question of whether there's life beyond Earth is one of the most fundamental and essential questions we can ask. And our ability to ask this question and develop the scientific investigations and technology to answer it is one of the things that make us as a species so unique. And based on everything we know about Mars in the past, it absolutely should have been capable of supporting ancient life. So we can find out an answer to the question, where there were habitable environments, was there life? And studying the possible emergence of life on ancient Mars can also help us better understand the conditions that led to life on our own planet.
That's so fascinating, Katie. Now we're going to take a question from a student.
So I'm going to jump in here super quick and pull up the JPL feed. They actually are showing right now the communication of the deep space networks. These are all the different dishes in those 3 locations of the world. And you can see M20, that is the Perseverance, and there's some other ones interacting there. But all those M's are the different devices in Mars that they are sending and receiving. Looks like they paused their computer there, but it is showing the different networks there. And then this is the JPL Deep Space Network control room. So this is, as I said, kind of the big switchboard controlling all those dishes and the communication coming in and out there. So we're going to pull back up the NASA feed here. And again, if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. We're here answering them. We are just about an hour away from the touchdown on the surface. So things will really start to be picking up here in the not too distant future. So let's take a listen back in here.
For joining us. That was so great.
Thank you.
Now sending it back over to you, Raquel.
Thanks, Marina. Earlier, we were able to catch up with the communications systems engineer, Chloe Sakier. She helps us break down the system used to track Perseverance during landing.
The communications infrastructure supporting Perseverance's landing is quite complex. We've rallied a truly global network of relay and communications assets to help us capture and record those precious minutes of entry, descent, and landing, or EDL. We receive a stream of engineering telemetry via these communication assets that helps us see and understand exactly what's happening. Perseverance sends direct-to-Earth X-band tones, each of which provides us with indications of critical entry, descent, and landing events. During entry, descent, and landing, we have 2 Mars orbiters listening for the ultra-high frequency, or UHF, signals from Perseverance. These orbiters relay these signals to deep space network stations on Earth, Madrid in Spain, and Goldstone in California. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, has reconfigured its software to perform a type of relay called bent pipe. This will provide us with near real-time telemetry during entry, descent, and landing. We have coverage from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter from just before entry to a few minutes after landing. The telemetry we receive will be delayed by the time it takes light to travel from Mars to us back on Earth. Additionally, the Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution spacecraft, or MAVEN, is recording these UHF signals and will be relaying that recording hours after landing. MAVEN will be covering us from around the time of cruise stage separation until a few minutes after landing. We also receive what we call heartbeat tones, which are indications that the spacecraft is alive and progressing throughout entry, descent, and landing. It's important to note that while unexpected, we could lose our communication links and still land safely. Because Perseverance is doing entry, descent, and landing completely autonomously, she doesn't need our help to joystick the landing. The communication links give us added visibility.
And you can see Chloe hard at work inside Mission Control right now. Perseverance's landing might look like the system the Curiosity rover used back in 2012. But landing on Mars is difficult. There's always a risk involved. Here's what needs to happen for Perseverance to touch down safely in Jezero Crater.
Nothing can be taken for granted when you get to Mars. There's a lot of things we just don't know.
Space always has a way of throwing us curveballs and surprising us.
I mean, until we get the data that says we're on the ground safely, I'm going to be worried that we're not going to make it.
Entry, descent, and landing is often referred to as the 7 minutes of terror because it takes about 7 minutes to get from the top of the atmosphere of Mars to the ground safely.
The spacecraft has to do all of this by itself.
There are many things that have to go right to get Perseverance onto the ground safely.
There's a lot counting on this. This is the first leg of our sample return relay race. There's a lot of work on the line.
Starting about 10 minutes before atmospheric entry, we get rid of really the spacecraft part of the rover that's been supporting us.
We come screaming in to the Martian atmosphere at 12 to 13,000 miles per hour.
And the heat shield is what dissipates all that initial energy through friction.
The vehicle will continue actually flying itself through the atmosphere. It's sort of like a transforming vehicle that went from spacecraft, and now it's kind of like an aircraft actively guiding itself.
When we're going slow enough, we deploy a parachute.
It's the biggest supersonic parachute we've ever sent to another planet. It's critical for slowing down the vehicle.
Perseverance's entry, descent, and landing borrows heavily from that of Curiosity.
But fundamentally, Perseverance is a different rover. She's bigger, she has different instruments.
We've added a lot of smarts on the inside to make it more capable so that it can deal with the landing site that we've given.
The science team identified Jezero Crater as basically an ancient lake bed and one of the most promising places to look for evidence of ancient microbial life and to collect samples for future return to Earth. The problem is it's a much more hazardous place to land.
When you look at Jezero, all you see is danger. How do we go to a site that we never thought was safe enough to go to before? So the heat shield, which has protected us all the way through entry, is no longer necessary. We need to get that off so that we can actually see the ground. And we can see the ground in a couple different ways.
Perseverance will be the first mission to use terrain relative navigation. So while it's descending on the parachute, it will actually be taking images of the surface of Mars and determining where to go based on what it sees. This is finally like landing with your eyes open. Having this new technology really allows Perseverance to land in much more challenging terrain than Curiosity or any previous Mars mission could. Amongst the rocks and the craters and the cliffs, these things are hazardous to the rover, but these are the things that are interesting to the scientists.
Once Perseverance has figured out where she is, jettison the back shell and parachute, and light up our rockets. Those rockets help us steer to a safe landing spot that's nearby.
That descent stage takes us all the way down to about 20 meters off the ground.
That's when we start the sky cannon. Once the rover has hit the ground, the descent stage will cut loose from the rover and fly away to a safe distance. Surviving that 7 minutes is really just the beginning for Perseverance. Its job, right, being the first leg of sample return, to go look for those signs of past life on Mars. All that can't start until we get Perseverance safely to the ground. And then that's when the real mission begins.
So as you can see on our screen here, we are now less than 1 hour away from the entry, descent, and landing of Mars Perseverance rover. Mission Control is giving their teams their last kind of breaks before things get super active here. And they are making ready. Now here's Al from that video.
You were part of the Curiosity rover landing. Does it get any easier the second time around?
It absolutely does not, especially when considering we're trying to land the biggest, heaviest, and most complex rover we've ever built at the most dangerous landing site we've ever attempted. Jezero may look great and promising from a science perspective, but it's absolutely treacherous for landing. There's a cliff wall that's about 200 feet tall that runs right through the middle of the landing site. There are craters full of sand that even if we landed in them, we would not be able to drive out of. And there are rocks to the east and actually all over the place, rock fields. That would be a bad day for us if we were to land on them.
Now, Al, what new technology makes this type of dangerous landing possible?
Perseverance is carrying two new technologies that are really kind of under the hood smarts that are allowing us to land at this treacherous landing site. The first is range trigger. That's the ability, we've given Perseverance the ability to decide for herself, based on where she is, when to deploy the parachute. Previously, we used to deploy parachutes, that supersonic parachute, based just on navigated velocity. But now Perseverance has the smarts to figure out where she is and deploy that parachute at just the right place to make sure that we shrink where we could come down. That actually reduces the area, that error ellipse, where we can come down on the ground, from something that was on the order of 15 miles long by 12 miles wide for Curiosity to about 5 miles long by 4 miles wide for Perseverance. So that's quite a bit of reduction. Second, the next piece of technology that's helping us land there is terrain relative navigation. In the past, after we popped off the heat shield, we've taken pictures of the ground as it's been coming up, but we haven't really done anything with them. This time Perseverance is carrying a camera to take pictures, but also a kind of second brain to help it figure out what those pictures are telling it and match it up with an onboard map from a satellite. That allows it to figure out exactly where she is. Suddenly then, she can then fly to safe spots that are nearby once she really knows where she is. It allows the site to not have to be as flat and boring as a pancake as some of our past sites have been, the entire area we could come down. Now we just need little pieces of that site to be small enough and safe enough for us to land in safely and fly there after we've gotten rid of the parachute.
And we also have a social media question coming in. Sansakari14 on Instagram is asking, how does the Sky Crane decide where to move itself after the payload lands?
After the payload lands, after the rover touches down, the Sky Crane, the descent stage, which is that rocket-powered jetpack above it, the first job, of course, is to make sure you don't hurt the rover. So it'll turn forward or backward so that the engine plumes don't pass over the rover. So it'll come up and start to turn. And it'll go in whichever direction is closest to north. So it can either go forward, if that's the way north is, or go toward the rear of the rover, if that's where north is. And it'll fly about 1/3 of a mile or so away.
Thanks for talking to us today, Al.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's head back to Mission Control for an update from Swati.
Hi, Raquel. So remember that command that we sent at around 11:35 to turn the transmitter off? We are just about to get confirmation that Perseverance has received the command. The command took 11 minutes to go to Perseverance, and then the reply took 11 minutes to get back from Perseverance to the ground. So we should hear any second now that we have officially turned off the transmitter. And after that, we will be about 4 minutes from the start of entry, descent, and landing mode. At this point, we will transition from the cruise approach mode to entry, descent, and landing. And that means our travel from Earth to Mars is done, and now we just need to get to the surface. So far, things are looking good.
Great.
That's a big part of the...
Estimated distance for OD 132. Copy, EDL phase. We'll come back.
We're listening in for that confirmation.
Flight Ace. Go Ace. Our tracking stations have all confirmed the results of the transmitter drive off and in lock one way. Copy, Ace. GDS flight. Flight GDS. At this time, I'd like to disable the alarms before EDL main. So please disable all the alarm files and start a new downlink session. Copy that. BGP. Copy that. Proceeding now.
Confirmation that we are now officially one way and the transmitter is off.
Rover mission has helped shape the other, starting with the landing of the Pathfinder more than 20 years ago, leading up to where we are today with Perseverance. Perseverance Deputy Project Manager Jennifer Trosper has worked on every Mars rover mission, and she joins us now. Jennifer, how does Perseverance fit into the history of exploring Mars?
Thanks, Raquel. It's great to be here. Well, Perseverance is NASA's 5th rover on Mars, and I've had the privilege of working on every one of them. And the very first rover was the Sojourner rover we sent in 1997, and it was the size of a microwave oven. And even at that small size, Sojourner was able to transform the way that we explore Mars, from stationary landers to small roving robots that go from place to place, just like a geologist would on Earth. So once we had that roving capability, then we sent our twin rovers Spirit and Opportunity. Spirit and Opportunity were tasked with finding evidence of ancient water on Mars. Now they did. They're great explorers, and both of them found ample evidence that water had once existed on the surface of Mars. But we had a question. Another question then was, Mars ever habitable if water had been there? And that's when we sent Curiosity. Now, Curiosity was a major upgrade to our rover fleet. She's the size of a small car. She landed with the Sky Crane system instead of airbags. And she also carries along her own sample analytics lab, and she's still operating today. And during her exploration, she has found evidence of a habitable environment in an ancient lake bed on Mars. So now we're sending Perseverance. Perseverance is tasked with answering the question and looking for evidence of ancient microbial life on Mars. And in order to do this, she has to be the smartest and most capable rover we've ever sent.
Speaking of Perseverance, can you tell us more about how Perseverance is smarter than its predecessors?
Yes, we've made a lot of upgrades to help her along with the surface mission. One of them is for her autonomous traverse capability. When I say autonomous traverse, I mean we tell her where we want her to end up, and she has to figure out the safe and best way to get there. In order to do that, she uses her cameras, algorithms, a computer. So we've given her another computer, we've upgraded the cameras, and we've upgraded the algorithms. Now she drives 3 times as fast as Curiosity could drive in this autonomous traverse mode. In fact, her average daily distance for driving, about 200 meters, is close to the maximum distance any rover has ever driven in a day on Mars. So she's fast. Another thing that we've done, which is the most significant upgrade that we've made, is the sample caching system itself. Curiosity has a robotic arm, like Perseverance has a robotic arm, but on the end of Perseverance's robotic arm is a coring drill that will go and take rock cores, transfer them into sample tubes and into the rover, where another robotic arm will take those tubes, will seal them and store them, and eventually drop them on the surface of Mars for future return to Earth.
Great. And we also have a social media question about Perseverance. Erica AS on Instagram wants to know what the wheels of the rover are made out of.
Great question. Well, you may think we make them out of some material you've never heard of. It turns out they're made of aluminum. Now, Perseverance's wheels are a little thicker than Curiosity's, but they're actually both made out of aluminum.
And one more question for you. Can you tell us more about the importance of where you are right now in the building?
Yes, I am above, on the second floor, above the cruise mission support area that you've been watching. And this is the surface mission support area. So as soon as Perseverance lands, all commands, this room will take over. It will become headquarters for operating Perseverance on Mars.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Now, we now know Perseverance's place in history. Let's take an up-close look at the rover with Mars 2020 System Testbed Engineer Elio Morillo.
Thank you, Raquel. I'm standing in front of the Mars 2020 Perseverance scaled model. As you can tell, this vehicle is about the size of a Mini Cooper. These wheels are obviously black here and they look like rubber, but they're actually fully made of metal. These wheels are designed to allow us to climb over obstacles and of course climb over hills and minimize the amount of slipping once we're traversing on the surface of Mars. Here in the front of the rover, we have the sample caching system. And of course, at the very front end of this is the robotic arm, which this entire system is arguably the most complex robotic system we've ever sent outside of Earth. Here at the tip of the arm, we have a turret which contains a suite of instruments along with some drills and coring capabilities that will allow us to do contact science once we get to the surface of Mars. Not only that, this robotic system is equipped to collect samples about the size of a piece of chalk that then eventually will be stored inside of the vehicle and dropped off in a later location so that an eventual mission can go and return these samples to Earth, something we've never done in the past. Here in the front, we have the remote sensing mast. Something of note is that this mechanism is going to be stowed upon the touchdown on the surface of Mars. And one of the first critical activities we do is deploy this mechanism. This mechanism includes several cameras that are going to give us some of the most breathtaking images we've ever taken on Mars. Along with that, we have some lasers as well as a spectrometer. They're going to allow us to do some remote science. Here you see some of these extrusions that are part of the larger weather suite of instruments that will allow us to characterize the local climate around Perseverance. So that's a quick tour of the rover, but I gotta get back to work. So back to you.
So as you can see on the screen here, we are less than 50 minutes away from landing of the Perseverance rover, and it was nice that she was mentioning it And just wondering, with all of you that are watching, did any of you get a chance to have your name on board of Perseverance? It's something, if you didn't get on board this one, always keep an eye on NASA's website with their Mars rovers, because it's a really awesome opportunity. They let you put your name on it and send it here. So here is my boarding pass, and my family's got a number of them as well. So our names are on one of 3 chips that are on the Perseverance rover. And it's something really special, is because that's something I've been doing my whole life. Back in 2003 with Spirit and Opportunity, back when Facebook didn't exist and I stumbled upon kind of a page on NASA as a contest, and ended up being someone's name that was included on one of those earlier kind of first rovers taking that next step. So it's definitely something to be part of history, knowing that, you know, your name or your family's names are going to the moon or to Mars. So always keep an eye on their website. There's a lot of opportunities that they want people involved. It's completely free, and it's just something super cool that you know that your name in decades down the road, hopefully when these rovers are in museums or, you know, things like that, that your name will be part of it. And that you were part of the excitement of expanding our humanity to being a multiplanetary species. Right now, we are approaching less than 40 minutes. We're about 45 minutes away from landing. They have turned off the transmitter from the rover, which means that it is all now one-way communication. And then, as you saw in that last interview, they had the other room prepared. So the moment that the Perseverance rover touches down, mission control switches off, and the new mission control takes over for the operations of Perseverance. Immediately, they'll have to do some final system checks and start to deploy, as you saw, basically like the head of Perseverance and some other things before they can start starting to open up, turning on all the systems, and starting the mission. Hopefully, we will see something today from those cameras. I know with Curiosity, I believe it was by the end of the day, the first images started coming through. It was after, I believe, they ended their broadcast. So we'll take a look. We're going to stay live as long as they do, and we're answering your questions. So if you have any questions, make sure to send them in to us in the chat. Ask the TLP. Also, share the broadcast if you haven't yet. We'd love to see everyone in here taking a look. We want to make sure everyone can see the NASA coverage, but also ask questions as we get closer to landing. As they said about 5 minutes ago, they are now entering the entry, descent, and landing portion of the mission, which means that the journey to Mars has been completed. Perseverance has arrived at Mars, and now becomes the big moment. Some of the other missions that happened in the last couple of weeks arriving at Mars with the UAE, it's arrived, it got deployed. The China one, it arrived, but it hasn't been deployed yet. When NASA arrives, it's going straight to the surface, which is why we're seeing all of this happen consecutively for it. But they're getting ready here. We're going to take a listen in right now. I'm actually going to pull up the Jpl feed here. They're showing us their simulation of where the rover is currently coming up, and you can see how Mars is getting bigger on that screen as they come in, and it's going to start its preparations. About 10 minutes before the actual 10 minutes before entry officially begins is when we'll see the separation for it. Immediately following the re-entry past the heating stage and stuff, it will then deploy its chute. It will then drop its heat shield, and that is when the cameras and the radar will start activating and searching for a place to descend. At that point, the entire rover with the sky crane will be released from the shell, and it will start its powered descent. And then when it gets to a lower altitude, about 70 feet, the sky crane will activate to start the lowering of the rover to the surface. And then the sky crane will actually ignite its engines again to thrust it away, and it will crash off in the distance. Right now, you are seeing on your screen the communication of the Deep Space Network, any things with the M's on there. We also can see that there is Voyager 1 and 2 listed on here, as well as a couple other things. But lots of communication going in and out right now. And there. So we're going to take a listen in, see what they're talking about, and go from there. I'm going to turn mission control audio on.
prepared to take over as we go through EDL if we should experience any type of reset from the prime computer. Copy that. Still finishing off measure 2.
Copy.
As we speak, we are transitioning CBM states, and I think activity is going to give us a little more information on that in their update.
Yeah, copy phase. The CBM change, as I mentioned previously, is to the EDL reserve two-way non-coherent activity. Copy flight. EDL phase, go ahead.
I'd like to see pep talk, I guess, to the team. Right. I'm terrible at pep talks. I think my reputation precedes me there. And look, I know this hasn't been easy, right? I'm not even sure we've even been all in the same room at the same time. I mean, I'm staring at folks across the internet as well. Even now, right? Only. Yeah. Voice check. Okay. I do want to just extend my heartfelt appreciation from the EDL team to the launch cruise team. You've done everything we've asked for, right? I mean, you've battled anomalies, you've dealt with CEFIs, you've done everything. You delivered a healthy spacecraft to the place that we want to go, and she's right on target, right? You did the last maneuver literally 2 months ago, right? This is pretty incredible, in my opinion. And she's armed with the right information to help us land. Doing the parameter update last night, we're ready to roll. You've done everything right. And you've put up with us too, right? You've put up with our eccentricities and the things we like to do in EDL land. So I very much appreciate that. So you all should sleep in on Friday, since you guys have earned it. Thanks for literally and figuratively putting us in the right position to succeed. And let's land on Mars together.
Copy EDL phase. And as flight director, I also would like to thank the whole team, cruise ops, EDL ops, EDL team, and the surface ops as well. It's been an amazing journey. I think we all know that. And it's been my honor and pleasure to work with you all side by side. And your tireless efforts and endurance in the face of our challenges has been truly, truly inspiring. So kudos to you. Mission, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just echoing the same words that Al and Magdi have mentioned. You guys have overcome great obstacles in the last 6.5 months, and it started with an earthquake in this room on launch day at L-20 minutes. So I can't be more proud than all of the achievements that you guys have pulled off in the last 6.5 months. Whatever happens in the next hour and a half, you can be proud of the achievements that you've accomplished so far. This room is only half as full as it would be if we weren't in this pandemic. So missing everybody on the team who's not with us here today. And go EDL.
Welcome to the EDL family.
And with that, Godspeed Perseverance. All right, activity. Go ahead and continue the report.
Sure thing, Flight. We've since completed the EDL start anchor. As I was mentioning, we changed our CBM row to EDL reserve two-way non-coherent. That row reinforces our CBM windows disabled, keeps our packetization on, it turns off our ranging and switches to the auxiliary oscillator. We have also started our real-time data product and reinforced Medley on. At this time,
Now, we just heard Perseverance team leaders thank the cruise team for their work in guiding the rover to Mars. Now, did you know the rover name and Mars helicopter name came from students? Well, a couple weeks ago, Marina was able to catch up with them.
So I'm going to quickly pull up here the mission control audio. So we're going to listen in at this point now because things are really going to start picking up here over the next 30 minutes. Sorry we dropped it there for a little bit. It looks like the audio kind of reset. But we're going to pull up mission control here. Right now, what you're watching is the NASA Eyes, which is going to give us a live view, kind of simulation of what is happening with the rover at the time. The next big moment is the D-spin at about 21 minutes. And then things will really start to pick up from there. We want mission control audio, share. And then we will turn that on. And we're going to keep this one and the big one for now. As you can see right now, they're kind of having their final breaks, their stretches. Earlier we heard even, have some peanuts if you haven't yet.
This is TLP. Miss distance for OD 133 is 810 meters.
Copy. Do you have a pair of runnouts on the plot you'd like to share?
Yes, I do.
Please do.
So yeah, they're getting ready there for the final entry. You can see the camera crews, making sure they're recording all this history that is happening. As I said earlier in the broadcast, they are spread out over various rooms in various buildings to make sure they're being safe through this pandemic. But we are going to be coming up on those next stages of the entry, descent, and landing. Right now, this is a live simulation from NASA. You can actually see Maven off in the distance as the descent comes in. If you want to access this, you can do so. Look up EYES. Let me double check. I believe it's eyes.nasa.gov. And they will have this available if you want to check it out. Yeah, eyes.nasa.gov, and then you'll be able to click on Perseverance and see that feed. While we're waiting to kind of hear mission control get spooled up again, if you have any questions, let us know in the comments. Use the hashtag AskTheTLP. Also, helps share the broadcast out. We're really getting close to that. Those final moments for landing, and we would love to see the world know that this is happening. We tweeted out some pictures. Times Square has changed over its entire tower to the countdown to the landing. For the last couple days, we've seen a number of buildings get lit up in red, from the Empire State Building to all over Europe, as the world gets ready for this big rover. Though it is a U.S. mission and a U.S. rover, there are components from many other countries on board. And the data, though it's American data, it helps everyone succeed as we transfer and become a multi-planetary species, but start laying that foundation to be able to do so for it here. I want to keep that one on the big one there. But I'm going to take a quick break here. I'll be back on probably in about 5 minutes or so. But if you have questions, let us know in the chat, and I will be right back. We're listening in to Mission Control from JPL as we count down the last about 30 minutes until touchdown of the Mars Perseverance rover.
Are you able to find the visualization so we can display it?
Affirmative. I will try again. My computer was having trouble with the visualization and WebEx, but I will restart WebEx and try again.
Copy.
All stations on M20 EDL ops. Probably the last time if you feel the need to do a battery change to do that before we go into quiet mode. Also, unless we have something updated we want to show in the next couple of minutes, we're about to turn over our WebEx screen to Telecom for tones. At that point, I'm happy to get updates in chat in our WebEx on EDL ops, but I'd prefer to not have any more callouts over the net unless you see something you do not expect.
Oh, well, this is TAP 3. I have the runout solution for OD135, distance to target, 392 meters.
Copy. Feel free to share if you'd like. OL2, OL1, voice check.
35 by OL1.
Copy. Looks good. Thank you. Top 3. All stations at this time on M20 EDL ops. At this time, we will go quiet on the net until we start our callouts during EDL telemetry. Here we go.
Phase 2 flight.
Go flight.
At this time, let's continue our briefing for the rest of EDL.
Sure. So after coming out of EDL start, that's our last real reinforcement of the state that the vehicle was in throughout much of cruise and EDL approach. And it's our precursor to making many more radical changes to the state of the vehicle. Matt Wallace said it well the other day. This is EDL is kind of like a controlled disassembly of the vehicle. As we go through, we need to get rid of the things we don't need anymore and get ready to put our wheels on the ground. So one of the final things that we're doing here is ensuring that our ACS knowledge is top-notch. We depend on ACS to pass an estimate of the vehicle's attitude and rate of change to EDL, and that's our starting point for propagating down to the ground. When we come up in the EDL prep anchor is when we'll take the last state from ACS, and we'll be propagating from that point to the ground until we get more knowledge from the radar once we turn it on. I can give a high-level overview of some of the events that are going to transpire throughout EDL. Of course, commentary will be detailing this as we go through, and you'll hear a lot of members of the EDL team calling out specific events as they occur and indicators as we see them. But to give everyone an idea of what we're going to see, we will first start shortly here. We'll get news that the vehicle has separated the cruise stage since we no longer need that. We need to prepare for entry into the atmosphere. After that, we will indeed start the entry process. At this point, we're depending on the heat shield to both protect the spacecraft and help slow us down. We'll be sensors, and we'll be decelerating rapidly at that point. As we make our way through the atmosphere, we'll be firing our DRCS thrusters that poke out the back of the back shell, and this will allow us to steer our trajectory as we make our way through the atmosphere. This is one of the things that allowed MSL, the Curiosity rover, to land where it did. And we're depending on the same type of entry guidance this time around to help get us very close to our target. As we make our way through entry, finish our guided entry profile, we'll do a maneuver called heading alignment, where we point toward the target and get ready to deploy the parachute. But before we deploy the parachute, we need to get rid of a set of balance masses that have been giving us a center of gravity, or CG offset, throughout the guided entry phase. So these are called the enter balance masses. We also call this maneuver SUFR, S-U-F-R, or straighten up and fly right. So we'll go ahead and eject those masses when we get a trigger from the GNC system telling us that we're at the appropriate range to the target to do so. As soon as we deploy those, we will no longer have a CG offset, and we'll be ready to deploy the parachute 17 seconds later. I'm going to hold here for EDL prep as we're about to start that anchor.
Copy phase 2. And activity, please call that out when it's ready.
Copy, flight.
All stations at this point, let's limit our traffic on the net to critical issues only.
So we've been listening in there to JPL's mission control as they're making their final preparations and kind of switching over their systems to get ready for the landing sequences. You'll see the cameras kind of switching through there as there are multiple teams in operation right now. There's the transport team, there's the entry, descent, and landing team, there's then the operation team for once the rover is actually on the surface. So lots of movement, lots of people as they are getting ready, as we are now less than 30 minutes away from the landing of Perseverance rover at the Jezero Crater on Mars after a many month mission. We're going to keep up this animation here. Once they really get into it, I'm going to take a step back. I'll still be on video, but we're going to pull these full screen so you can see kind of the next steps. We are not going to have live video of the landing just because of that time delay again. It takes 11 minutes to send data to Mars and then 11 minutes to send it back, and they have turned off the transmitter on the rover as it goes through entry, descent, and landing as they make those final preparations. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat. As we kind of get closer to here, I just invite you, if you're joining us on Facebook, come on over to us over on YouTube. That's where all of our content always goes out. We cover everything space flight, space engineering, and the future of space on here at the Launchpad. Love to have you as part of our community. If you haven't yet, check out our interview with Jared Isaacman talking about the Inspiration 4 mission, the first civilian crew mission to space, an exclusive interview we did with him last week. A lot of awesome information there. But things are really starting to pick up as they enter those last stages before they really go. Now we have to remember, with that time delay, we will not know. When we find out that Perseverance is starting its descent, it will already be on the ground. So we have to remember that with that time delay. Right now it's saying touchdown in 22 minutes, which means they've got not even 15 minutes left of final communications and transmissions for it. Has Perseverance begun its spicy stage yet without it? Not yet. We still got a little bit there. Once we see that D-spin start, that's when a lot of things are going to become active. And there'll be this animation from NASA will keep us up to date with what's going on, as well as the mission control audio for it. Take a looking into the Deep Space Network mission control at JPL. That's where all the data coming through all the different satellites we saw earlier is going through switchboards. They've got all the feeds up. And you can see in almost all the feeds on one of the screens, there is kind of about 8 or 10 countdown clocks. That's counting down the different stages they're going through for reentry. And you can see them kind of lighting up and changing as things are happening.
Discharge and charge state. We are powering on the pyro firing card.
Flight, we're about 14 minutes from entry interface. The vehicle is currently preparing the heat rejection system that has kept the thermal system cool inside the air shell for about the last 6 months. This will allow the spacecraft to more easily cut the line in upcoming cruise stage separation, which is under 4 minutes now.
We have now enabled the Rover Pyro bus. We are powering off the cruise stage devices.
The vehicle is preparing for the upcoming cruise stage separation in about 3 minutes, 15 seconds by powering off all the devices on the cruise stage in order that they can be safe once the cruise stage is jettisoned.
We are firing our first pyros to vent the HRS liquid and gas.
So with the time we are currently seeing on the clock there being under 20 minutes, it would now take longer to send a message to Perseverance and have a message back than the time we have from touchdown. So
3 minutes.
We are currently 12.5 minutes from entry interface. We are coming upon cruise stage separation in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Just going to quickly try a couple screens here to give you the best views. And, oh, no, not that one. Oh, we're going to stick with what we got. That was the better one.
We're about 1.5 minutes from cruise stage separation, about 11 minutes, 20 seconds from entry interface.
We are switching to the MSK tones. Telemetry will stop.
Telecom is confirming that the spacecraft has switched to broadcasting tones. These tones are received directly from Perseverance, but have very limited information content. We won't receive real-time information until about 9-10 minutes from now, once the Mars Reconnaissance orbiter starts relaying information from Perseverance. We are under a minute from cruise stage separation, about 10.5 minutes from entry interface.
We are seeing heartbeat tones.
We're continuing to receive tones from Perseverance, standing by for cruise stage separation.
RCS priming.
Cruise stage up.
We have indication that cruise stage separation has been confirmed by the spacecraft. In 1 minute, Perseverance's landing software will wake up and begin the final preparation for entry. The first action it will do is to fire warm-up pulses with its entry thrusters. These pulses ensure that the spacecraft gets the thrust that it wants during entry interface. We're about 9 minutes from entry interface.
That's confirmation that got shadowed by the cruise stage as it passed through our beam to the Earth.
Telecom indicated actually that we could see a signal that the cruise stage went between the Perseverance entry capsule and Earth. So we saw a little blip, the data stream, indicating cruise stage separation. We have confirmation that the vehicle has started warming up those entry thrusters. Warm-up pulses have begun.
Spit it down.
So right now what you're seeing on your screen, just to give you an idea, on the left screen, you are seeing
the spacecraft is trying to stop its spin from the cruise 2 revolutions per minute down to 0, and then will to its desired orientation from entry. It will separate the two balance mass that has kept it balanced. This will allow the entry capsule to have lift when it enters the atmosphere. We have confirmation that the spacecraft has turned to the desired entry attitude. We are about 7.5 minutes from entry interface.
So on your screen here, you're going to be able to see the simulation on the left. The top screen on your right is showing the live NASA feed, which will jump around with different shots. You got me in the middle. And then the bottom screen is our access to the 360 cam inside JPL. So we are keeping an eye on what is happening live in that room. You can see the footage there with the countdown clock as well as things really start to be taking off here.
Points carrier lock. Sorry, the DTE from Radio Science from Green Bank reports carrier lock. You see the carrier on the downlink.
Flight level 1.
We are continuing to wait for entry interface. We're about 6 minutes and 45 seconds from entry interface. We have confirmation from Greenback that they are receiving direct-to-Earth telemetry via that path. The spacecraft Perseverance is currently transmitting heartbeat tones. These tones indicate that Perseverance is operating normally and has nothing significant to report. This is as expected. We're currently just over 6 minutes from entry interface. We are just under, we're about 5.5 minutes from entry interface. We're still receiving heartbeat tones. We expect to continue receiving heartbeat tones until about 5 minutes after entry. At that time, Perseverance will be no longer in view of our antennas here on Earth. About 90 seconds prior to entry, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter should begin receiving telemetry from Perseverance and streaming it to Earth in near real time. There are a few expected short outages, such as when we have a plasma blackout or when we enter the peak heating phase. Aside from these outages caused by the plasma blackout, antenna switching, or high dynamic events, spacecraft events, we should have telemetry until about 90 seconds after landing. A plasma blackout is when the signal from Perseverance isn't strong enough to make it through the superheated, super fast air flowing around the spacecraft all the way down to Earth. Once the temperature drops below that peak heating, we do reacquire the signal from Perseverance. We are currently about 4.5 minutes from entry interface. Perseverance continues to report heartbeat tones, indicating everything is nominal.
So everything is sounding good on their end. They like what they're seeing. That bottom right screen that you're seeing moving around, that is a 3D camera they have released to the public to be able to use.
Radio is powered on, ready to receive signals from the lander.
So we're just
Orbiter has reported that it's ready to receive the signal from Perseverance. It should be in a few minutes here. We're just
Flight level 1
from entry interface.
So atmospheric entry, it's saying about 5 minutes on the 360 camera there. We're hearing entry interface in about 3.5 minutes here.
Around this time, a second spacecraft, Maven, should begin picking up telemetry from Perseverance and will continue to record that telemetry until several minutes post-landing. We won't get that data for several hours after landing as it's being recorded and then will be forwarded to Earth later. We are continuing to receive heartbeat tones, indicating that everything is nominal. We're currently at about 3 minutes until entry interface.
And that is a very good point from one of our Twitch viewers. Welcome. If you haven't joined us on Twitch, that's a new channel we've just opened up recently. Really good point. There is a time delay. At this point, it is possible that Perseverance is on the ground. For it, there is a delay on confirmation for data. So they haven't really said if what they're talking based on is the live data or if that is on the delay. Most likely it is live, which means we're still...
Minutes from entry interface. Perseverance is to transmit heartbeat tones, indicating everything is nominal.
Still a little bit away from the touchdown there, about 9 minutes. But there is that delay. So we will have to wait after the touchdown has occurred in real time that we are watching live on this simulation. That is real. That is Perseverance's actual state at this moment. But it will take some time to confirm a successful landing after we hear that. But so far, they are... everything's nominal. They've been hearing the heartbeat tones, which is what you want to hear.
We're just under 2 minutes from entry interface. As it gets closer to Mars, Perseverance is actually being pulled in by gravity and accelerating. By the time Perseverance reaches entry interface point, it should be going just under 5.4 kilometers per second. We're at about 90 seconds from entry interface and standing by for Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter to pick up the telemetry.
So you can see the team sitting and waiting in anticipation. This is the scary moment for them. This is the moment where years of work and months of travel to the red planet comes down to it. And we're about to enter what they call the 7 minutes of terror. And this is when the rover, she's on her own. She's in control. She knows what to do. And we just wait for confirmation.
in receive mode.
We have confirmation that the Mobile Reconnaissance Rover is now relaying data from Perseverance. We're about 30 seconds from entry interface. Perseverance is going about 5.2 kilometers per second and is about 190 kilometers altitude above the surface of Mars.
Confirm your jet data flow.
About seconds.
W1.
5.3 kilometers per second and altitude of about 150 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Entry.
We have confirmation of entry interface. Perseverance is currently going 5.3 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 120 kilometers from the surface of Mars. The ship is now waiting until it begins feeling the atmosphere of Mars slow it down. Once there is enough atmosphere, it will start controlling its path to the landing target.
That will indicate entry to the atmosphere.
Navigation is also confirming that we can see a little bit of the slowdown of the atmosphere on the Perseverance entry capsule. Our current velocity is about 5.36 kilometers per second and an altitude of about 67 kilometers from the surface.
We are probably seeing emerald plasma blackout at this point.
Bank 1 completed.
Emerald has lost lock.
Probably indicate reversal, bank reversal.
We have indications that Perseverance is now performing bank reversals in the atmosphere. These are the steps in order to control its descent to the landing target. Perseverance has just passed through the point of maximum deceleration and has indicated that it felt approximately 10 Earth Gs of deceleration.
Emerald is locked again.
That will indicate reversal.
Bank 2 complete.
We saw a small outage of the UHF telemetry from Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter during that peak heating phase, likely caused by plasma blackout. Perseverance is still continuing to perform bank reversals in the atmosphere to control its distance to the landing target.
Probably indicate reversal.
End of range control, range minus 1.9 kilometers, cross range minus 2.4 kilometers.
Perseverance is going about 1 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 16 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have entered heading alignment, which means Perseverance is no longer trying to control the distance to Mars, but to the target on Mars, but instead is flying straight to the target. Our current velocity is about 550 meters per second at an altitude of about 15 kilometers from the surface.
Emerald's reporting good telemetry log.
We are coming upon the
Proper start.
We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver,
Jettison.
where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Indicate shoot deploy.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed and we're seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 440 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
We are seeing a slight delay in that bottom right feed.
Perseverance is now slowed to subsonic speeds, and the heat shield has been separated.
There we go.
Both the radar and the cameras to get their first look at the surface. Current velocity is 145 meters per second at an altitude of about 9.5 kilometers above the surface.
NASA filter confirmed. Velocity solution 3.3 meters per second. Altitude 7.4 kilometers.
Now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second, 6.6 kilometers above the surface. Perseverance is continuing to descend on the parachute. We are coming up on the initialization of terrain relative navigation and subsequently the priming of the landing engines. Our current velocity is about 90 meters per second at an altitude of 4.2 kilometers.
Sky cranes away.
We have confirmation that the landing engine system has produced a valid solution and part of terrain relative navigation.
Come on.
TPA nominal.
We have timing of the landing engines.
Backshell set.
Is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have confirmation that the backshell has separated. We are currently performing the divert maneuver. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
Slow it down.
Safety Bravo.
Rover's going.
Navigation. Current speed is about 30 meters per second, altitude of about 300 meters off the surface of Mars.
SPS level.
Zero.
Constant velocity accordion, altitude air. We have started at constant velocity accordion, which means we are conducting the sky crane, about to conduct the sky crane maneuver.
Remember this.
Throttle down.
There's always a slight delay.
Sky crane maneuver has started. About 20 meters.
Tango Delta. Nominal.
Come on.
We're getting signals from MRO. Bring me stable.
You're good. Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin taking the stand of past life. At this point, the descent phase has flown away to a safe distance. Perseverance is continuing to transmit direct through Mars orbiter to Earth.
Well, congratulations to all the team. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of work. Perseverance has landed. They are back on Mars, the most capable, most detailed, most advanced rover in history.
Still getting telemetry from the lander.
Is on the surface. Telemetry is coming in.
All right, all stations. Touchdown confirmed. We're going to wait for the images.
Here we go. Let's see what we get. Now, this is when there's an 11-minute delay. So it's confirmed down. Now we have to wait. And this is when we get those photos of where it landed and everything. But you can see the excitement. I mean, very different that they can't run around and just hug everybody like they normally would during a pandemic or during a non-pandemic. But you know what? What a amazing day. We are back on the surface of Mars. You know, really ushering that next stage of research. And as you can see, it's a quick celebration and then right back to it. Everything switches now from the...
You have what you need?
Hello, I have what I need. Completion of EDL 3000.
Copy.
Copy activity. That is as expected.
I think that's one of the coolest audio clips right there. You just heard such a relief. You know, years of work.
Flight, this is OL3. I am ready to share.
OL3, you are go.
Slight delay in this.
All stations stand by for the images.
Oh. Do we? There's a picture. We're waiting for them to blow it up, but they have a picture.
Flight, this is OL3. I have the target point on the map when you are ready. We are ready, OL3. Go for it.
We're going to... In this bottom screen, you'll see them all turn to where these monitors. That's where...
The safe zone that we've landed in.
Oh, look at that.
OL flight.
They have it. There it is.
TRN. TRN.
Can hear the excitement.
Can we get the Swift image, OL?
Activity, this is OL. Can you repeat that request on N20 DLL?
OL, can we get the other image to show the cliff?
Show the cliff? What cliff?
Sorry, say what image again? I'm not understanding.
Flight OL3. OL3. You can see we've landed about 35 meters from the nearest rocks that we could identify from orbit by their shadows. Copy OL3. You are in action.
Yep. Take that, Jezero. Woo!
I remember this spot. It looks good. Copy OL3. I'm sure that you have seen them all and you recognize them all. So,
look at those pictures coming in. Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you there. I love Cheez-It.
flight work electricity a little off with the lander.
Flight, we have seen the transition to surface. EDL done.
Transition to surface.
And that's it. Oh.
All stations,
Congratulations, Perseverance team, and the whole team that's not here as well. Excellent job.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. NASA, JPL, there's so many teams that made that possible to bring together.
We have transitioned to surface as reported downstairs. If you're part of that story to the surface team, make sure you're starting to work those inputs, please.
And what they're talking about now is that everything switches from all those rooms that we were seeing now start to switch over to these other rooms as they start to take control of the actual process of now Perseverance living on Mars and operating. And you can see those photos kind of covering every screen at JPL right now. It sounds like, you know, they had their plan in place. They landed where they wanted to, and they are officially on the surface of Mars and had successful landing. We're going to stay live and see what else they show us. But again, congratulations to NASA, JPL, that entire team. I'm, very inspiring working through a pandemic and showing the hope of we're back on Mars again through a pandemic. And if we can do it then, we can certainly do it other times. So there's going to be lots of data for hopefully years to come from Perseverance, as it really takes us to that next level of information. Yeah, an incredible time to be a incredible time of space exploration as we see civilian crew missions starting, private crew missions. We're seeing the expansion on Mars as that we get ready to hopefully send humans to Mars by the end of the decade, which is just a crazy statement to think about. As the NASA's planning to go back to the moon in just the next couple of years. Yeah, really crazy time to be alive. Really exciting time. And you could hear it in the voices of many of them.
Hello, this is AL2, voice check.
I
just want to announce to everybody I've taken a first pass at the surface transition report. I've got some numbers from the script, and I'm awaiting input from a couple people still, and confirmation from others. It's ready for review.
Copy. The end of that was ready for review. You're asking people to take a look at your pressure report.
That's right. It's ready for review. I'm hoping, I'm looking for confirmation from a handful of folks on some of the values before making it final.
Copy. Do you want that confirmation over this net?
The process is to work it over email. I'll send out an email that they can reply to.
Thank you.
Now, I know I've dropped it in the comments there a few times. If you're joining us over on Facebook, we try to cover everything space flight, space engineering, and the future of space here at the pad, at the launch pad. And we'd love to have you over on YouTube. That's where 100% of our content gets released. Not everything comes out on Facebook. Just drop the link in the chat there. Hit a subscribe button. We'd love to have you there. We had an exclusive interview with Jared Isaacman about Inspiration 4 last week. Got a bunch of other interviews coming up hopefully in the next few weeks that we look forward to sharing with you, weeks and months, as the Launchpad just continues to grow. But we were so thankful that you were here with us for our live coverage of the landing. You can see the selfies getting taken as everybody's celebrating those first pictures and a successful landing after months. Not that it's easy landing, but they sure make it look easy after those years of planning. It's sit and wait, and that we have the technology that is able to land itself now for it. So quite an incredible day as NASA puts another rover, and you can see them all pointing like, we know that rock. There have been thousands of scans of the place they were hoping to land.
Pad 1, OL1. Can we go ahead and get handoff ready to go for our final Monte Carlo for today?
This is Pad 1. We're already working on it.
Copy. Can you tell me what it is that's on?
The latest one I have is 137. I'll go jump into the nav room and confirm that's the last one.
Copy. Hello, this is Pad 1. We're ready to run that Monte Carlo when the handoff is ready. Copy, Pad 1. Pad 1, this is Pad 2. Go to Pad 2. Sorry. Pad 1, this is Pad 2.
Going, just wanted to get permission to release the tracking stations and the notes and everybody.
Pad 2, Pad 1 is currently talking that. Stand by. Freaking lovely.
OL1, this is Pad 1.
Go to Pad 1.
I confirmed that OD 137 is the final DOD with all of the two-way data up until 20 gone.
Copy, thank you. Pad 1, Pad 2.
Sorry, Tad 2, were you calling Tad 1?
Indeed, I was wondering if you wanted to cancel that last Monte Carlo before we start this one, or if I should get HBC on it so you can focus on the handoff.
How far along is it?
$5,700 cases.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kill it.
Thank you, Taiwan.
So, yeah, there's really not much to say. We're listening in to hear what other info they're getting as they start to deploy the rover on the surface and stuff. As they were saying prior to touchdown, they have to basically lift the head up, and that has a lot of the cameras on it. There's going to be a lot of data coming over the next hours and days as they show the receive footage from the descent and the sky crane operation and everything. So lots of data coming. If you have not followed us over on Twitter, I'll drop the link in the chat here. Join us over there. We tweet out as much as we can of those updated breaking news, things like that. And then join us on our YouTube channel for our weekly updates. We're going to take a deeper dive into the Mars Perseverance rover this week and go into that more of just everything that comes out in these next couple of days. Those updates normally come out Monday, Tuesday, beginning of the week. And we'd love to see you next week on the update there. But yeah, we're just going to keep listening in. We'll probably end up here in a little bit. If you have any questions, let us know. But NASA and JPL have confirmed that the Mars Perseverance rover has landed at Jezero Crater, a previously blacklisted site that was too difficult to land at, and they landed perfectly smoothly. And there's satellite images you're seeing coming from above Mars, showing the satellite images of the rover on the surface. You can see the countdown. I think, that slogan right there on their wall, "Dare Mighty Things," that's space travel. You take a risk and you hope it works. And today it has. And they are successfully back on the red planet with a lot of new technology. A shout out to Tori Bruno and the entire United Launch Alliance team. They were a big part of it. They're the ones that got it off of Earth and on its way to Mars. So congratulations to them as well. A lot of the time, the launch provider is a little bit forgotten during these moments, but Perseverance wouldn't be at Mars without them. So congratulations to them and everyone that's involved. There's components from countries all over the world that are on Perseverance, and it'll be exciting to see the data that comes back and when the first sample will be collected.
Okay, all stations. Everyone. All right, all stations. Congratulations, but believe it or not, we have a job to do now.
OL1, TAD 1.
Go TAD 1.
Are we ready to look at the handoff?
Surface flight, this is flight.
Yes, please.
Should I go ahead and just share it in the WebEx that we're working now?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, flight.
TAD
Just
1,
want to
do we have
confirm
your
that
eyes?
your team is ready to receive Perseverance.
I am paying attention.
Copy.
We are ready to receive Perseverance. Okay, are you ready for the new one is on the left?
Not yet.
The 121 is on the right.
We'll let the team here have... not yet. We'll
Sorry, this
let
is
the
going to be hard
team here
with
have
the Voca.
a few minutes with the telemetry, and then we'll do our briefing. Remember to put the details in capture for your counterpart on the surface team.
OD-137 spread.
And then we will do an over-VOCA report.
And I don't think anything else actually changes in this.
Surface 50. Are you staying on Mars 20 ops or
other
switching
than,
to Mars 20 surface
hang on,
ops?
before I scroll too far down, I want to confirm.
We are going to remain on
we
M20
have
off
the OD-112
VOCA.
EPU3.
Copy.
The only other relevant change here is going to be the OD-137 spread ESF. And we don't have any other relay orbiter changes, correct?
None that I care for us to incorporate. I don't think so. Pad 1, your screen resolution, I can't actually read stuff very well, but you're saying it out loud, so I'm just trusting that what you're saying is what's there, just so you know.
Copy.
But I think what you described makes sense to me.
And we have no orbiter file deliveries from Monte Carlo this morning.
Thanks for confirming, TAP 1.
Flight activity FNAV for 2.
Copy.
There's no other version changes.
Go nav.
No other notes. So
nav is going to go off net.
That's it.
Great success
Should
on
we add a note that just says final,
that's great. Thank you.
final OD from
Nav, you don't want to continue?
Yeah, that's a good
Nothing for
idea.
you to do?
Thank you. TAP, are you good with this handoff?
Nav, we want to
good.
extend tremendous
Thank you very much.
gratitude for your efforts to you and your team and for giving us a great trajectory here.
You're welcome.
EDL OL 1 or 3, this is EDL phase on EDL ops.
Phase, this is OL1.
Can I get a copy of those pictures sent to me, where the map is, or where we came down, where we targeted, both in hazard map and not hazard map mode?
OL3 gave me a thumbs up. You should have those shortly.
Flight uplink off net for 2.
Copy uplink.
So at this point, I think we're probably going to wrap it up here. They're now in the process of doing their checks, handing over the systems of Perseverance to the ground team now that will take control of Perseverance for its entirety of its mission, because landing has been completed. I want to thank all of you for joining us here at the launch pad. This was our first, big coverage of something like this, and thanks for sticking with us. We had a few technical difficulties, but we're so glad that you were here with us. And if you have any recommendations on how we can improve or what you'd like to have seen so we can do in the future, let us know. Send us a tweet or something. We'd love to hear from you, and we want to build this community. If you are a photographer or videographer located by Kennedy or Boca Chica, and you would like to partner with us in helping share your footage, we'd love to hear from you as well. You can email us at thelaunchpadnews@gmail.com. And I just invite you to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get plugged in on our Discord if you want to get some behind the scenes, and check out the Launchpad shop. All the links are in the description of our YouTube channel, and I believe our Facebook video as well. And just thank you so much for being here. Again, congratulations to NASA and JPL on successfully making it to Mars, and way to go, Perseverance. You did it. I wish you all the success over the next months and years to come as you navigate the Mars surface. But that's going to wrap it up for us here today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Zach with the Launchpad signing off.
Should I give a report this time?
Tab 1, this is Tab 1.
All right. We see in EHA that the spacecraft mode is surface nominal. We also saw that transition in EVR space, and the surface nominal transition cable ran as expected. CBM is in normal mode, which is to be expected. It is no longer in disable windows mode. We see that
Confirm you're ready for delivery.
0001 sequence has started. And I do not have recent EHA updates for the rest of the system, but I'm continuing to document what I'm seeing in EVR space for surface systems.